conversation. You know, sometimes we just say, you know what, let's lighten the mood. You know, it's always formality. We're trying to be formal. We're trying to be so political. But I mean, there's the other side of life that is equally very important. And I'm sure the guest that I have this morning will attest to that somehow. And Fredia has just done well to get the theme. So as we move from that, we get to a different conversation. It's in regards to what the papers detail this morning. And I have politicians on set. They'll tell you that it's a tough moment as they campaign, as they speak to the people. And so I want to loop them in to tell us what they feel about the politics of the day, as we as well take a look at what the papers detail. It's only 17 days to the general election and how time flies. Yesterday it was 18th. Today, 17th. Before you know it, it will be tomorrow, 16th, and we'll get to the 9th of August, that moment where we cast the vote. So briefly, before we take a short break, I will get to introduce the guests, allow them to say jambo, and then we now get to this conversation that is about the papers and, most importantly, generally what is happening in the world of politics. In studio with me, Abraham Maina, who's a member county assembly aspirant, Ngando ward, that is in Dagoretti South. And right next to him is none other than Dr. Githiga Mwangi, member of parliament, candidate of Kangema constituency, as well as Eric Ragalo, events director, youth, that is Azimio Young Turks. And gentlemen, asanteni sana for creating time. Eric tells me that he's here a little bit late because amelala kwa campaign trail, and I'm sure the same would apply to the gentleman. In fact, Abraham, I had been told that hautakuwa area. Ulienda aje?
Okay, I think I was given the information the last minute. But of course, as a leader, I have to sacrifice.
Oh, that's true.
Yes,
you have to show up for your people.
So when I was given this notice, it was a very short time. So I felt that it may not be possible. But I decided to come, despite our tight schedule in politics.
And it's really tight.
Yeah. No, we are remaining very few days.
Yeah.
There are some areas we have not covered. We have so many undecided voters until now. So we have to convince them because they are the determining factor. So I've been running there and there to ensure that we win the seat, of course.
Well, all the best.
So I'm happy for having me.
Yeah.
And I welcome every viewers, my supporters in Ngando, my friends, all over, family, pastors, all those people that are following me. I welcome to this show.
Karibu sana. Dr. Yours must be tougher because it's a constituency, it's bigger.
It's bigger, it's tough, it's very competitive.
Yeah.
And the people of Kangema, I'm sure, are having it a bit rough making the decision, but they know where they want to go.
How many are you?
We are 7 running for the position of MP. 5 men and 2 ladies. You know, these days gender is quite aggressive.
Right.
And I came from there this morning. It was a bit chilly, but we are on the ground and we're fighting, and the people of Kangema are gradually coming to form a decision. And sooner or later they need Dr. Githiga Mwangi on the seat to continue the next 5 years. I send greetings to them and ask them to keep the fire burning.
All right, all the best, Dr. Eric, how are you?
Very well. Yes, it's national election.
Yeah.
I'm not standing for any seat, and I'm here, and we are here supporting Baba and making sure Baba gets into State House. The viewers on TV47, I welcome you all for a good discussion. And I still want to tell us that we have a country, we have what you're looking at, and we have to look at the 2 candidates and decide of the best candidate. My candidate is Raila Odinga, and you know why I cannot support Ruto? So many things. So many things. You have a history. Look at the history of a person before you vote the person.
All right, well, interesting. And I think that on that very note we'll begin. But for now, let's take a quick short break and we come steer this conversation to action.
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. It is our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
Actually, for us to make a wheelchair, we have to take measurements of the user.
After doing my assessment, I get to know the parent, I get to know the heaviness she's carrying.
Disability comes at different stages of life.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. The next set of millionaires are farmers, as we know agriculture has been and still is the backbone of our economy. As we traverse the different counties to meet different farmers, we ensure to get the story of how they started farming and even how they continue to penetrate the market and overcome the challenges.
Hapa, the reason why nilieka goose na si ducks. Goose, they are very easy to maintain.
A lot of farmers keep on calling, inquiring whether you're supposed to raise some seeds in the nursery or you're supposed to do them directly in the field.
The greenhouse helps us to control the temperature because the temperature needs to be between 28 to 32 degrees.
Walk this journey with us every Sunday at 6:30 p.m.
And the Daily Nation. To start us off, the Daily Nation. Venezuela with election stickers held at the airport, and detectives were last evening investigating 3 men, among them a Venezuelan, who flew into the country at midday from London carrying 16 rolls of election-related stickers in their luggage, even as the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission claimed all was well. This is a story captured on page 4, and in a press release by the IEBC, let's see what it is that it speaks of. They say it is with extreme consideration that the Commission has learnt of the arrest of 3 key personnel responsible for deployment and management of election technology infrastructure. The 3 personnel, who are employees of Smartmatic International, that is the BV, were arrested upon arrival at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport from Venezuela. This is despite the Commission Secretary or CEO explaining to the security authorities that the 3 personnel were in the country to execute lawful contract relating to the deployment of technology in election. The Commission has a valid legal contract executed between itself and Smartmatic International BV for the supply, delivery, installation, testing, commissioning, support and maintenance of Kenya Integrated Elections Management System. The brazen decision of the security authorities to arrest, detain and confine in solitary hideout the 3 personnel without justification is an exhibition of intimidation on hardworking persons who are only keen to deliver plans and plays or to deliver a robust technology infrastructure for the conduct of a credible, secure and verifiable election. Still so much that they said. But here we are and we ask ourselves, why is this happening at this very last hour? That perhaps this gentleman or, these 3 could have had, proper documentation to as well indicate why they're here and who has brought them here. IEBC has most of the times argued that maybe it has not been allowed to operate independently. And there's been also allegations that there's an involvement of different quarters, the state, so to speak, in the preparedness of the election that would help us alter, or that would be instrumental in altering the activities that have been set by the IEBC. Perhaps to start with you, Daktari, what does this speak?
Linda, this is another dose into the whole story about the IEBC that, in my view, is unnecessary. It keeps on undermining the confidence and integrity of the most important body, government body at this moment. I do not understand how such a, if so-called valid workers coming into the country will end up in the hands of security, and one arm of government is not obviously talking to the other. But one thing is clear, that IEBC must do all it can to avoid this kind of situation. They undermine confidence in its operations, and sometimes they give the enemies of the elections enough ammunition to shoot down the whole preparedness of the IEBC to conduct what you might call a clean election. I think it may be just another incident. These people may not perhaps be coming here for any ulterior motives, but I think it's something to be avoided. Right. At this hour, we need a lot of calming of nerves from IEBC. Linda, you are sure the nerves are up right now? So to get another story about the so-called election stickers and what have you, something we don't understand, doesn't help the situation.
Okay. Well, Abraham, evidently, or it's in the public domain of the companies that IEBC has, chosen or has given tender to work with, yeah? And the procurement companies, the Smartmatic, it is in the public domain. If these three would have come with proper documentation and identification to clearly indicate that they work with Smartmatic and that they are here for the election preparedness purposes, would it have gotten to this level? What does it speak in, and what would it mean to have the security forces taking this direction, or the security officers taking this direction with a clear indication, or with letters of clearance from the IEBC?
I think, leader, at this time, we are in a very critical time, a very sensitive time, whereby the IEBC, being an independent body, need to be very cautious. They need to be very sensitive on how they are managing the affairs, or rather the elections of this nation. And having this matter, and I think even the IEBC was not even conversant about the issue. There is a long way of management of those companies that are held to, which are responsible in putting these documents. And I think what I think is very important is that IEBC should be very sensitive on how they are handling their matters, and there should be communication, the official communication from that company towards our nation, so that the IEBC can be aware that the officials are coming, so that we don't have this kind of dramas. I think there's a problem of communication. And number two, it is also an attention to IEBC that they should also be cautious. They should be very sensitive. And you see, Rita, also, when the elections is being held, people have different interests. And this interest may not just on elections itself. And as we normally say, is that everything that we do before the elections, it matters so much on an election date. That preparation, that process of having an election is very important. Having these documents being disposed, or rather being exposed at this hour, it is very wrong. And these are the issues that cause an election petition. These are the issues that cause our lawyers to go to court and research this document to prove that there are some issues that were not well organized or well prepared. And I think it's a high time for IEBC to be very sensitive, to come up clear and explain to Kenyans, so that all people can be at peace and know that everything is running well, and then ensure that those loopholes covered so that we can have in peace and concentrate on a campaign of those remaining few days. Yes.
It will be very hard to overlook the hand or an external hand on this, Eric.
Yes.
And it sends chills and fears and worries, because if you have contracted a certain company to work with you and now they're coming to the very country to make these arrangements, and then there's such animosity that is mated upon them. First of all, you would want to imagine that with all the intelligence, maybe the security forces, termed it necessary to do this. Perhaps there's something that needs to be explained. But why is it that IEBC then says it is not what we think?
Linda, before an election petition, there is pre, within, and post collection of evidences. And IEBC know very well why the election petition, Raila election petition 2017 went through. Is because they were bare. They decided just to play, use the wrong word, like a small baby, without covering their butts. So this is the same thing they are doing. They know very well the two groups are collecting evidences. My group will take this as an evidence. The other group will take this as an evidence. Within election time, there is also evidence collection. But the question is, can IEBC play this game? Why I'm saying this? How can someone carry security, a very security sensitive document in a luggage bag? I mean, couldn't you cargo it? Couldn't you send it via courier, then follow it back? And right there, very, very important, so that they are secured as they go to the destination. Can you carry these stickers in a luggage bag? I mean, luggages get lost in the airport. People have lost luggages. What if they were lost? That is the first question. The second question is, if IEBC had requested them to come to the country, there is the letter that they are given of what? Of invitation, and showing why they are coming. And then, if this is IEBC preparing for an election, they would have communicated to the relevant bodies that our people are coming. IEBC knows very well that airports or port of entries are the most importantly secured areas in the country, both by intelligence officers, plainclothes police, and uniformed police personnel. And some of these intelligence officers work within us. They are the secretaries there. They are the people looking at your ports or your documents. I'm not saying that is how it is, but I'm assuming. There are so many in that anything that gets into the airport, somehow they know. So why did they pick on these three alone and not pick on the other person? And if they were just papers, wow, papers, if that paper passed through the scanner, the scanner will not have a problem with the papers. Papers will just pass. Why pick on them when they pass through the scanner? Are you imagining? If you have a spoon, it will show there is a metal in there. You're being told, Ebu fungo your bag, tuone yo ni nini. Papers through the scanner will be told, just Peter. But why pick on them? When you look at all these, you want to see a game. And here, someone is saying, in page 4, at the end, someone is saying, where is that page? At the end, someone is saying, when it comes to printing ballot papers, they give us samples of how they are going to print the papers, and if satisfied, we tell them to proceed and print. So they carried samples. They couldn't even use, okay, now let me talk of online sampling. Couldn't they send samples online? These guys print the samples and look at the samples, and on the document write the security features in the sample. Do they have to fly all the way to just bring samples, Linda?
No.
I'm asking stupid questions, but they are not stupid. And that is what this guy has said. And I don't know whether he realizes what he's talking about. I think he's a very smart guy, but what he's saying is telling me a lot of things. This guy is carried samples to come all the way from wherever, UK, to come and show samples. A ticket from UK to Kenya is 100,000 to and fro. So they use 100,000 to bring a sample. And they'll sleep in a hotel, use our money and just to bring samples. Linda, let's be smart.
All right. This is interesting. And I guess it goes beyond this. It's a developing story, and we'll be following up on the same to get to the bottom of it. But then again, just brings us to this conversation on the IEBC. Do you suppose that the IEBC is it's leaving lots of loopholes that would get them into more trouble, litigations. Already as we stand, even as we're headed to the election, lots of cases they are dealing with. I mean, what more after the general election with such kind of things that we see today? Abraham.
It's getting okay. IBC in the way that they are running their affairs, you're having issues also in courts. You're having matters that are being complained in court on how they're handling their cases, or rather they're handling their preparedness. And I think IBC is making some mistakes which can affect our nation. And all other things have been done well. But for example, now you see the issue of the presidential candidate. We're having matters in court. That is Ruben Kigame going to court saying that he should be now in the ballot. Then the IBC go and appeal. Then the mandate to be discussed again on Monday. And this, remember, this is a presidential candidate, and the presidential candidate can affect a lot of things in terms of elections and the politics of this country. In the event that the court now decide that he must be in the ballot, you see now this nation is going to lose a lot of money because the process of printing the papers for presidential candidates has already begun. So that means that the government has now to spend another cost regarding printing of this ballot paper. And number two, if the hearing is determined late, and maybe it is determines few days to the elections or after the elections, these elections can also be nullified on the basis that some people rights were being denied. They did not get the opportunity to contest and to vie. And this can also affect our elections. So IBC is ignoring some parts which I think are very sensitive, and they should be very cautious to ensure that this country does not lose billions. Remember the amount of money that IBC is invested to do the elections in this country is a lot, and that money should be well managed. And if it is not well managed, it means that Kenyans has to spend another cost. So they need to be very sensitive. The issue that we have discussed is another sensitive matter. And you see elections, sometimes elections you create some tensions, some confusions, and we want to get to the polling day having our good concerns that all is in order, that we are doing the right thing, that the person we are electing is automatically going to have a fair opportunity to win or to lose. So those issues should be balanced by IBC, and IBC should become clear every time. Let them have a conference and update us on the process, how they are doing things, so that Kenyans can be at peace and find that they are working at the role they are supposed to do.
Okay. Daktari, let's be specific to this case of Ruben Kigame.
Yes.
And he's right to take this further. The same way Mike Sonko has decided that, he's going to escalate his case further to the East African Court of Justice. And Ruben Kigame says that, IEBC needs to fix this before we get to an election, because if they do not, then it would risk the nullification of this very election. If at all, the courts will totally vindicate him and dictate that he really would have been rightly been part and parcel of those ones that have been declared as candidates for presidency. IEBC goes to court to challenge this because it says it's going to be an expensive affair, and even the release of these monies that would be required would require approximately a month for the same to be done. Yet we know that we are less than a month to the general election. What are we in this particular case? I mean, are we staring at an election that really is going to be nullified again, as it was in 2017?
I think, Linda, we must say we are heading in maybe not in the right direction. IEBC is all about creating confidence.
Yes.
All the candidates are looking to IEBC to make them feel comfortable and to be clear that they have lost or won fairly, that there are no other things in between them and the target they're working on. IEBC so many times creates situations like the one we have just discussed that undermines this business of confidence in the body. And I think also we must be a bit fair to IEBC in the sense that it doesn't have everything under its control. IEBC is working to a program, is working to a deadline, and yet all these things keep on popping up.
Yeah.
Look at the cases in courts. On one hand, we're saying we want a deadline of certain activities to ensure that the system of election is seamless, but tomorrow somebody appears in court and IEBC must stop and wait for the outcome.
Yeah.
There is a lot that is not, to be honest, in the control of IEBC, and somehow government and all of us must help IEBC to perform, because these things do not help it. For example, if IEBC has got now how many? For 18 days, 17 days as you said, and somebody goes to court, it takes another 2 weeks to get that decision. What time does IEBC have to present a fair and what you might acceptable result? I think the whole system needs to be looked at, and IEBC must also be extremely careful in handling of cases, because sometimes, in my view, it opens up itself up to some of these challenges. They must be solved in what I might call a team process. Right. Everybody who is a stakeholder in the process of elections might do their bit. I agree with Kagame. If he feels he's not been treated fairly, he's entitled to go into court. But there must be a referee who says time is up.
Yeah.
You can't just leave it open and every time you turn you start blaming IEBC. I don't speak for them, but I can see it also as a candidate.
Yeah.
But there is need for us to be told that there will be election. To be told with the confidence that there will be. Yeah. Some of us, when we listen to these noises, we sit back and wonder whether there will be an election or there will be no election. Right. Because if Kagame, as we said, goes to court, we have to wait, all of us, because it is the same body. If that body stops for purposes of solving Kagame's court, we all stop. It's like an army.
Yeah.
So all of us must now agree that IEBC must be given the opportunity to say the game is over. Now we must move on.
Let's talk about the courts for a moment, and perhaps, Eric, you could come in on this and their involvement in making sure that as well we are guaranteed of a free and fair process. While it could be, a constitutional right for the likes of, Reuben Kagame to successfully challenge being locked out and what it is they have done, are there instances where it would require the wisdom of the court, proper interpretation of the law, to make sure that at least, out of this one Kenyan, the rest of the Kenyans are also accorded their rights? Because look at it, the court gives a ruling that would again ban the activities of the IEBC with proper understanding that there are timelines, there are limits in terms of the funding that has been accorded. Yet they give this ruling that would give Kagame that right to go out there and challenge. Does it mean that the court can then not protect the people of Kenya from the trouble that comes ahead? Because then we risk literally not going for an election.
The court has a serious issue in judgment, and their judgment basically does not follow what we call the law sometimes. Yeah. There is a social justice that what prevails at that particular moment in time supersedes what the law says. I'll give an example. Yeah. There was a judgment that was made some time ago, and this judgment was about a young boy. Right. Who had impregnated a young girl. And this boy was supposed to be taken into prison. But the young boy is a guy who is a breadwinner to this young girl. Of course they are young. One is impregnated the other. And this one is supposed to be taken to prison. And now the question the judge had, if I take this boy to prison, and who is going to fend for this girl? Yeah. And na wanapendana, si ati wameachana.
Okay.
So what happened? Aliwaambia endeni.
Yeah.
And that judge was brought into, he was doing an interview the other day to get a promotion, and that question was brought. Okay. And it became a good story to think. So did he make a mistake?
And letting
yes, according to the law.
Yeah.
But what was the judgment? Was the judgment right? Yes, because of wisdom. So wisdom sometimes supersedes. This is what I'm saying now here. Wisdom of IEBC also should supersede and understand that two wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah.
Us as ODM, we collected 3 million signatures, took to them that we wanted to do a referendum. They told us we didn't make any signature. Tulichora ng'ombe, mbuzi. I mean, how would you know someone's signature? If ng'ombe is a signature, it is a signature. Yes. How do you know that Daktari here signature must start with D because he's a Daktari?
Yeah.
He could draw a cap. That is his signage.
Yeah, that is his right.
That is his right.
Yeah.
So walikata signatures zetu because now Ruben Kigame here is being told he didn't collect 48,000 signatures. Yeah. Maybe, I'm not aware, Ruben Kigame's people even drew caps, dogs, what have you, na zikakataliwa. Because I'm asking myself a question. Wajakoya was also told to go and collect and bring back. Yeah. At what speed did Wajakoya collect his? How did he get them? Because his was more than Ruben Kigame's.
Right.
Okay? How did he collect them in 3 days? Why couldn't he also assist Ruben to collect the remaining 40,000? No, the question is here. Was there, and this is where now IEBC comes with policy, strategy, and oversight.
Yeah.
And their policies are written. What is their oversight upon some of these things, and how do they direct and assist people like Ruben Kigame? And I can tell you, I think Ruben Kigame needs to be in the papers as now. He should be a presidential candidate as now.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Because what stops him? 40,000 signatures. Did he collect? He tells you he collected enough signatures. So the signatures that were doomed not right, what was the problem with them? Maybe there were dogs there. I'm saying, for example, what happened to ours? Were cows there? Were chicken there? But those are signatures, if at all that is what was there. And the court, now you're talking of the wisdom of the court. The court may look at the bigger Kenyan against Ruben Kigame.
Yeah.
But again, you open a floodgate of such litigations.
Right.
So why can't we have Ruben Kigame and we clear the story?
At a very expensive rate, and IEBC says there's no problem with that. The only problem is that there's a lot of money that would be involved.
Which money?
Yes.
Yes. There's a lot of money that would be involved.
Would be required. To release
Ruben,
this would require another month.
To have Ruben Kigame's face into the ballot paper.
Yes.
It need a lot of money.
Yes.
Like
that is the report that IEBC released yesterday.
Okay. So they have already printed the millions of the papers.
We should assume they should be almost done because we're only 18 days and 17 days to the general election.
But that is where the question comes in.
Yeah.
What is the function of the IEBC? Daktari unasimama, mimi nimesimama mara mbili. One of the things they do, they call you to a meeting. They tell you ukipiga picha inakaa hivi. I don't know whether you went through those meetings. Meeting, upige picha, uangalie direct, macho yake ionekane, nini. They tell you all these things. They take you through what is necessary. Okay? So, I also wish to know that Ruben Kigame was taken through this.
Yeah.
Before anything is done, did IEBC do a checklist that Ruben Kigame is okay to present his papers and they are right? Before he presents. Because that is what was done to many of us. When now they ask you, this is the checklist.
Right.
Umefanya hii, umefanya hii. Uku umefanya yote leta. So why, that's what I'm telling you, my feeling is Ruben Kigame did everything that was supposed to be done. The 48,000 signatures, I assume they were there.
Right.
Okay? So what was wrong with the 48,000? Could be the signatures is what I'm talking about.
It was a cap, it was this.
Yes. So how does IEBC, do they have a document that shows this is the original signature and this is a different signature? Do they have that? So this signature thing surely should not be there. This signature thing will mess our country one day. Why do we keep on getting signatures over things like a million signatures? Why don't you get ID number and phone number? And then go to the whatever, you know how the government works, register, and check the ID against the phone is right. Why do you check the signature? I can change my signature now. If I want to change the signature now and use a different signature from tomorrow, how will you tell it that this signature is not wrong? Kumbe I changed my signature yesterday. This signature thing should stop. I mean,
Yes, they say adding Reuben Kigame on the presidential ballot paper to cost about 971 million.
It's okay. If that brings the ethics, what you're talking about, it's okay.
The timelines also.
IEBC knew about these timelines.
Okay. I think this is
they are the people who
disaster.
postponed timelines to the end.
Yeah.
Remember, they added a month. That was unnecessary.
Yeah.
So they brought all these things to themselves.
All right.
I think also, Alinda, here we need to balance things a bit.
Right.
One, in this game, we must have a referee. I keep on saying this so many. There must be somebody who says this is it. Even in football, it's not always that the referee is right, but he's the only one who can say this is right and this is wrong. So the game moves on. If we keep on going back to this, this is now Kigame, for example, against all the other candidates who have an interest in this. So whichever way it goes, either Kigame will lose, or the bigger people, or the bigger group of people will lose. It's a matter of equity. Sometimes it's not justice for the sake of it, because it costs everybody. It will cost IEBC 971,000. What will it cost all the other candidates if these things are deferred? Okay. Right now, a day more in the campaigns is unsustainable for most of us. Just look at a situation where all of us now have to go back and put on our uniforms to go back to the field because Kigame has an issue with IEBC. We must learn as a society to accept that at some point, some people must have the ultimate responsibility. In my view, I hold the position that IEBC must be given this chance to come to a position which says the game is over. It doesn't matter how clean it has been or how dirty it is, because we are also, on the other hand, telling IEBC, you must deliver an election in 14 days, 15 days. You can't have your cake and eat it.
Wow, interesting. Gentlemen, allow us to take a quick short break, and then we come back, expound further. We get to understand whether you have the confidence that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission will handle your election, as expected. How many candidates in Ngando? About 8. So it's a tight race.
Yes, it's a tight race.
Okay, well, we look forward to get to understand some more on the involvement of IEBC, crucial at the heart of it all. But just how many candidates are confident that the electoral body is capable to handle this in a free and fair manner after this break.
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. It is our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
Actually, for us to make a wheelchair, we have to take measurements of the user.
After doing my assessment, I get to know the parent, I get to know the heaviness she's carrying.
Disability comes at different stages of life.
Well, do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga.
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m.
The next set of millionaires are farmers. As we know, agriculture has been and still is the backbone of our economy. As we traverse the different counties to meet different farmers, we ensure to get the story of how they started farming and even how they continue to penetrate the market and overcome the challenges.
hapa, the reason why niliweka goose na si ducks. Goose, they are very easy to maintain.
A lot of farmers keep on calling, inquiring whether you're supposed to raise some seeds in the nursery or you're supposed to do them directly in the field.
The greenhouse helps us control the temperature because the temperature needs to be between 28 to 32 degrees.
Walk this journey with us every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. It's no secret, construction ain't cheap. But how do we make it affordable? Different individuals are finding ways of cutting down cost by use of pre-stressed slabs other than reinforced concrete, recycling.
The level of Ngando, what?
For me, Linda, I believe that they are ready. And we had them announcing recently that already the ballot paper have been printed for the other aspirant, apart from all other candidates, apart from the presidential. And I believe at our level, we are okay. But of course, we have had some areas where there is a complaint, there's a court matters. Those are the areas that I also think they can affect the elections. You remember there is a time that he said that the areas that there is a case in court, the ballot papers has to be put in pending, awaiting the judgment, or rather awaiting the decision of the court. So those are sensitive areas also. In my view, so far they are progressing well, apart from those cases that we are hearing. And those more cases we are saying that it can affect the whole process. It can affect the whole elections. It can affect all the candidates. Because now if the elections can be postponed on the matters of this kind of courts, you see now it will affect everybody wherever we are. So it's a matter of IEBC now to prosecute those cases effectively to ensure that we don't have a postponement of elections. And those cases that are pending, we also pray that our courts will also going to have their ruling as early as possible to ensure that all these things are moved smoothly, without hindrances and without obstacles. Because even in our courts play a major role in elections matters, because IEBC can do their part accordingly, but courts can also change issues based on the matters that are being brought before them. So therefore we are just requesting and pray that our court will expedite those matters, and also request that they also look at the sensitive matter, they look at the interests of this nation, so because sometimes you may look at the interests of an individual and you forget the interests of the whole nation. So if they check those issues, I think we cannot have issues of like postponement of the elections. For the issues that we have discussed for Ruben Kigame, you can see now he had a court. He was not cleared. Then he went to the tribunal. The tribunal ruled that he is not going to vie. Then he has gone now to the other court. So we are saying that we are also having a loophole in our law system. We are also having a constitutional loophole in our law system, because the laws should guide us on the period that one should go and complain, the period that a candidate or an aspirant should go to court and argue his case. If that period expires, then this person will not be allowed to have his case, to ensure that we don't have confusion in the court process. Imagine the 2 weeks remaining gap, then you have this kind of confusions. It is very, very difficult for our country, and we pray that there shall be change even in our constitution, in our laws, to ensure that things are done accordingly, to ensure that no confusion during, or rather when we are almost to the elections. Yes.
All right, and we come to these questions of campaigns. I mean, last laps of the campaigns are here, and like Dr. had earlier mentioned, it's a very crucial moment, expensive moment for that matter, you know, time consuming. A majority of us will tell us that most of the times they rarely get time to sleep. You know, like you're out campaigning, spending your resources, putting your money into this, putting your time. And this is what we have in one of the papers this morning. They speak of venues that are crucial, are at the heart of these campaigns. But then again, these venues, some key figures cannot access. Some of them had to go an extra mile to lock and, you know, pay for this in advance, so that they are not locked out when they want to conduct their last lap campaigns. But it appears that it's being done different. So they say locked out in venues battles. The battle for prime rally venues in Nairobi took a twist. That is yesterday, after Deputy President William Ruto's team was informed that the Nyayo Stadium, which he had booked and paid for, would not be available, and neither would Kasarani. This even as Junet Mohammed insisted that the Azimio would hold its final campaign call at Nyayo. A story captured on page 6. And this is what Pius Meto says, we regret to inform you, UDA, that due to peace concerts scheduled to take place at both Kasarani and Nyayo stadiums between August 5th and 7th, the facilities will not be available for your use. This could be true, but just what does it mean? Why, first of all, take the payment only to make adjustments later? And you understand how crucial these spaces can be in every other person's campaign. Can they just say, it's fine, let go, and let's find a different space, Dr.
Yeah, I think this is critical. I need to go back a bit on confidence level on about IEBC. I have actually run for MP's position before in Kangema.
Okay.
And I have seen a difference in the way they have handled matters this time round. They called us, they talked to us, they have opened social groups for communication. It's been much better than it has been in the past. So the people of Kangema, as far as I'm concerned, I can tell them from where I stand that on the ground, preparation in our particular constituency, things have been going well as far as the arrangement by IEBC are concerned.
Okay.
Now coming to this other thing. Linda, these resources are very limited. You're talking about venues in Nairobi. At least Nairobi has venues. Where we come from in some of our rural constituencies, even getting a stadium is something else. And now we are so many of us. But they did something, and in Kangema what we were asked to do is to submit our campaign programs.
Yeah.
And like in the case of MPs, we've been kind of harmonized. So that if I am using the stadium, everybody knows I am using at the stadium at this time, from this time, and the rest of it. So even after acknowledging the fact that it is limited, they have gone that further to ensure that we are a bit organized. I think that's what needs to do. Very, very often, I think in the cases of like the stadiums in Nairobi, one arm of the people involved is not talking to the other. Because if there were peace things being organized in the same venues, then IEBC or the candidates should have been told that these stadiums are not available on such a date. Not for them to be allowed to go so far in their planning, for them to then get a letter which says the stadium is not available.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is that the candidates' number is surging, it's going up all the time. The resources are limited, so we need to harmonize it and to organize it better. And even for the candidates also to be a bit flexible, because it's not all the time that you get your way on this.
That's true.
In Kangema, we have had sometimes to be in the neighborhood, 3 or 4 of us. You can imagine with the speakers blaring.
It can get the voter confused without doubt.
It has not only agitated the campaigners,
That's true.
it has even agitated the environment.
That's true.
Even the voters that we want to support us sometimes are fully disturbed by this blaring and the noises and the endless movements by groups of people who are campaigning.
Yeah.
So it's quite a demand on the candidates, on the voters too.
That's true. And in this space where the likes of UDA, Kenya Kwanza have, cited displeasure in how the matters are being handled. And at some point in time, they've said there's an involvement of the state in all these activities of politics today. Eric Ragalo, when they say they had already paid, and then this time around they're just being told that perhaps you're going to get a refund because unfortunately this space will be occupied at that very time, and we'll be talking about the question of peace. Would they start reading a level of interference on the same, and does it work, so to speak, as a disadvantage to the state and generally how it's handling the matters?
Well, Linda, I want to tell you that you having paid for a commodity does not mean you own the commodity. That is one thing. Well, they paid for the stadium, and you can pay, and you're told we will tell you if possibly that day is free.
All right.
I have been in this campaign for some time, and we were organizing something some time ago at a certain place. And we were really sure we were going to have the venue with us. Only for us, the time we were coming, later to understand that that venue had been taken by Mudavadi for a whole week. We felt jilted because we asked, why then did we pay? We were told we weren't sure whether Mudavadi was going to hold the venue. But he had already secured the venue. So sometime you pay to wait, not you pay to have it. Secondly, we have quite a number of venues and places in Nairobi. Our people, the group, the Ruto group can go. The other day they had, before they paid Nyayo, they had given out a communique that they were going to Kamukunji, I remember. And they even gave a communique that they will do their final, we normally say the final submission in Kamukunji. What changed again from Kamukunji to Nyayo? If I'm wrong, I need to be corrected on that. We also have Undugu grounds in Langata. We also have a ground in Dandora Phase 2. I'm just trying to show them grounds where they can go. We have Dagoretti, where my friend comes from. We have a very big ground in Dagoretti. What they want to do, and this is politics that I know better, they want to show that they have been locked out. Paying does not mean anything. You can pay. We paid Uhuru Park some time ago, only to be told that your Uhuru Park inafanyiwa nini? Inafanyiwa, what do you call this?
Renovation.
Renovation, I think you remember. And it was quite absurd. We had paid Uhuru Park an M, and it is being renovated. Did the county council not understand that the renovation was going on when they were, you get? So the person who received the money is the cashier. We wish to pay for the ground to be used on 17, fine. Ni 1 million dete ndio hii. Then the cashier now takes the information to the board that we've gotten payments for this ground on this day. The board will say no. The management board, the Nyayo Stadium Management Board, this day it has been booked to this team. You understand? I say that because it has happened to me twice. Having paid a place to be used, then we are told it's not possible. And now I know better. But I didn't make noise and went to media that day, said, we've paid Mudavadi amechukua ground yetu. Na hujaisikia hiyo. But I'm saying it here, but I don't want to say what you wanted to do. But that happened. So if this is gone, they can go elsewhere. Why are they making a lot of noise? Well, they have Uhuru Park here.
Why is it that then Junet says that that they have to be on this other space that we're talking about? So why is it that you're pointing a finger at them and for a moment you do not
Maybe
see what
that day there was space in Nyayo and it was not booked. Again, why would you have a showdown at the same time, at the same place, the same day? I'll give this reasoning. There was one time we had a show, it's called a final submission showdown. I remember Kibaki was in Nyayo Stadium. And as the Raila team, 2013, we were in 2007, we were in Uhuru Park. The same day, the same time. And it went in tandem. Why can't he go to another ground? Why does he want to insist on the same ground we are going to use?
But again, the organizers, or perhaps those ones that handle these grounds, don't you think they need to be a little bit organized? Because why would you want to take money from someone? And at the back of your mind, there's going to be a likelihood of another event. I would want to, there's proper planning to this. Perhaps as we round it up on this, you don't want to go and pick a small ground somewhere in Dagoretti, and then, days to it, you're being told that you cannot access the ground. Don't you think it's a little bit disorganized?
Of course, there is some problem there, leader. Because we understand that this crowd, they normally have their diaries, they have their programs, their tables, they have the program for the events. So when they cancel, when these things is almost to be done, it also raises issues of the management of these big event. The Nyayo Stadium and also the other one for Nyayo Stadium and the other and Kasarani, sorry. Now there's a problem there, leader. Let's accept there's a problem because once you receive the money, you issue a letter. Or the letter is received and stamped, approved. We can see attachment from the newspaper here. it tells us there's a problem somewhere. But we also understand politically that our presidential candidate, they want to be in a bigger crowd. They don't want to be in a small space, and they want to have as so many people as possible, because it's about finishing. How presidential candidate finish the race is very critical, it's very essential. It's something that also determines, it's something that people discuss the number of few days remaining to the elections. So it matters a lot on finishing, and not only to the presidential candidate, to all of us, even us fighting for MCAs and member of parliament or all the other seats. The finishing line is very critical. And I think this is what the UDA, they are trying to do. They are trying to allege on how they finish their race, how they finish on this. And this is where they are aspiring to be in this big podium, so that they can have this big event, so that they can have also how they manifest that they have got numbers, they have got big team. You see, it's about now the image, and these are very good girls for them. However, we can see even Junet Mohammed here saying that they had also booked the same crowd. But unfortunately, there was no paper. This is per the newspaper, of course. I have just read from the newspaper that he did not have any paper to verify that they are paid for the Nyayo Stadium. So I think, leader, we needed to allow democracy, this nation. Let's allow democracy. And when we allow democracy, if somebody has booked early, if it was booked early, as we can see, let that person be given the ground. If this person did not book early, or there was something else that came in, then there be proper communication. Because we understand also they can book, then another event come that is more sensitive than what was booked. Then they can have a proper explanation on the same, which involve now calling the candidates, or rather calling the parties, and discuss and agree to ensure that this kind of event does not attract sympathy vote. Because we understand in politics, there are some votes we get out of sympathy. Because there are some people who can see this, they think that maybe some people are behind, or government, or other parties, or other candidates are behind Duda. Then the voter may start issuing or thinking that they should have that sympathy vote on the presidential card on the Kenya Kwanza. So therefore, I think these are issues that I know they are still handling, this being discussed, and I believe they are going to have a proper conclusion. However, if the event that now they cannot get the ground, as my colleague has said, they can go to the other ground that they can go, and then they communicate. Because what matters, Linda, here is not just the physical appearance there. Because you understand, this presidential candidate, wherever they go, they are covered by the media, they are covered online, there is postage of social media, there is media coverage. So what matters a lot is not even just going there. What matters is that's directions, the communications, what they speak to the whole country. We have all the media to ensure that all this nation, or rather all the Kenyans, receive the information. So it's not just a matter of appearing there, but the information they give to their supporters. That is what is very critical. So let us not have any tension on this matter. We see even presidential candidate addressing their people on a media platform. They just come here and then address the nation, and everybody get the information. So this should also not cause confusion anywhere. Should not cause anything, because communication is what is paramount.
Linda, I want to add something. In the same paper, it's written, Kenya Kwanza blogger Dennis Itumbi produced document he claimed showed the Ruto camp had been cleared to use the stadium. Itumbi. The question why I'm saying Itumbi is a blogger. This is a propagandist. And for Itumbi to become the spokesperson of UDA gives a question. Who is UDA's spokesperson? Who is supposed to talk on to Kenyans? Give official communication. These are the documents. You know, somebody, sorry to use this word, that can be respected and his words can be taken to book. Another one here, Nanok produced document he claimed showed UDA had booked 1.5 million for use in Nyayo Stadium. Nanok produced document showing UDA had booked 1.5. The document on the Gazette is 1 million.
1 million.
So are these people true? Are these fake documents? Now start to beg a question. Look at the paper, read down there. Nanok brings out a document of 1.5 million. But the Equity Bank receipt shows 1 million. So where is the 500? Or was it not captured here? Or there were two receipts of Equity Bank, one kando ya ingine. Why could ama hii 1 million, 1.5 million haingetoshea hapa ikiandikwa? You know, begs the question, are these documents true? That is another question. So Itumbi talking as the spokesperson is a questionable issue. Then the chairman, or rather, I would say the campaign manager of UDA saying 1.5
figures,
and then the document here showing 1 million.
Yeah.
UDA are playing games.
Okay, well,
we will give them a ground in Ruiru inaitwa Kivumbi Stadium.
That is good enough.
Na hiyo ni 10,000 tu.
That's affordable. We have to close that one and briefly look at this report by the IMF. Speaks of 4.1 million Kenyans in arid lands battle food shortage. IMF pushes Kenya to extend support to vulnerable households to supplement its subsidy programs, but also at the same time argues that they're not going to fund this subsidy for fuel. Lender says many struggling to put food on the table due to worsening climatic condition, and it does not require IMF to remind us this. It is evident that we are struggling when it comes to the question of how we are managing as families. $1 a day, below $1 a day. A majority of Kenyans are not able to access meals, more than one meal a day. Some are not even able to afford that one meal. And they say tough times. It has approved an additional 28 billion shillings lending to Kenya, but with a raft of unpopular demands. IMF's bitter pill for Uhuru's successor. What conditions mean for you? IMF demands suspend further cuts on electricity prices until Kenya Power becomes profitable. Says end fuel subsidy, reduce debt vulnerabilities via fiscal consolidation, protect vulnerable groups, structural reforms of some SOEs such as Kenya Power, strengthen anti-corruption fight, raise tax revenues, control spending, strengthening of monetary policy framework, and so much more. What is expected? Treasury actions, presumptive taxes on farmers and informal businesses, reduced spending in some areas at fiscal consolidation happens, higher interest rates as CBK is expected to adjust state limit, and so much more. The involvement of IMF in all this. I remember Mudavadi was saying at some point in time, you had better be in the good books of IMF if you are a nation that wants to fruition. I do not know what that means, and in relation as well to the subsidy that the government has accorded us in form of making sure that the prices of unga go low for about 28 days. What Deputy President William Ruto would say is too little, too late. What do you make of all this, Daktari?
I think it's true we all understand the plight of Kenyans at this particular moment. The last thing we want to hear is that we are trying to make it any worse. The problem I have very often with IMF is that we are not in tandem with the Kenyan situation. Very often their demands run straight onto the face of the Kenyan situations. Like any demands now that will push the country towards more costs, especially by the average Kenyan, is highly unacceptable. They just can't afford it. They can't even imagine it. And whatever IMF wants is okay. It may be complied with, but it must stop at the door of making Kenyans go any further into the economic plight that they are already in. What am I saying? We went through a period of Kibaki where the name IMF almost disappeared from the Kenyan economic discussions.
Yeah.
Why it is emerging now, again, I don't understand. I sometimes take the position that, yes, work with IMF, but IMF must always remain what it is. It is a lender, it is a bank. It does not have to be always dictating to the country what it should do and what it shouldn't do. To be fair, with its limited resources, Kenya has always tried to accommodate or to help, to assist the Kenyans in these so-called arid areas. Even IMF will never do enough to take them out of the situation there. It will always be in the hands of government. So IMF help, yes, is acceptable, but they should also work cautiously. They issue statements that sometimes inflame the situations in the country.
Yeah.
When for example, Kenyans down there in the economics rather hear that fuel, for example, the subsidy is going to be taken away, they know what it means. It means that even the little relief they have got on unga will be very short-lived.
Right.
Sooner or later, we'll be back up there. I don't also accept what Ruto is saying. a day is too long for a Kenyan in this situation. So even if it is too late, it's too little, it's not too late. Because it could save a person.
That's true. And I mean, it has gotten Kenyans to a point where they say, you know what, it doesn't matter what, informs this, for as long as we get it at a lower price. It doesn't matter whether it is to push for Raila Odinga's campaigns, for as long as this unga is coming to us affordable. And we all saw how many thronged into the supermarkets yesterday, at least to have their stock, or to restock, just so in the event that really will not have enough in the shelves, at least they'll have gotten something for themselves. Eric, as we wind up on this very matter,
Linda, let me add
make it brief, Daktari.
Linda, whether it's too late or too late, I appealed the authorities to make sure it's available in Kangema.
Sure.
As far as I know, yesterday, none of this chipunga was anywhere in the constituency.
Okay.
So please, little yes, but push it as fast as possible to
get to this and that.
Linda, I want to tell you the history of IMF and World Bank. I'll put World Bank there. Is also very funny that when Kenya wanted money most, that was in 1999, 1998. I remember the drought of 1997. We used to eat what we used to call gadhirikari.
Yeah.
The unga in 1990s. Yes. And our country was really starving towards the election. So in 1992 again we were going to election. IMF gave these things, these conditions that one, for you to get money from us, and I would say Daktari, because you are of age more than us, you remember IMF said we have to privatize some of the of our institutions. So one was Telkom, was privatized. We have to cut some employees, and many walitoka kazi, especially Telkom, walipatiwa golden handshake. You remember golden handshake was because of IMF and World Bank. And one of them who left was my uncle, who left job then. But people who left with golden handshake then, many, and I would say many died, because you're given money, umeandikwa juzi, umepatiwa pesa, umambo umeretire. That word retire, one, was too big, and you're still very young. And when you retire, there was no other government institution that were going to employ you, because already you're retired from a government institution. Take it from Linda. So you have to go private. And then SMEs were not doing well because the economy was in shambles. Many of the people suffered and died. This is what IMF is going to do. How? Make sure Kenya Power is profitable. By doing what? Cut wafanyikazi, wafute kazi. And this is what is going to happen. Take it from me. Get few people who can work. Okay? Do double, triple job. Waongeze mshahara kidogo, usemekana Kenya Power iliongeza mshahara, but you're keeping more money. This is what happened to KQ, and KQ is still not doing well. You remember KQ walifukuza mpaka marubani na hostesses. Now, what else is going to happen? Raise revenue tax. So, what will happen? Everything we buy will go up. So what is IMF trying to tell us? IMF has never brought any solution in the country. Telecom still remains down. It was supposed to make profit, still making losses.
They strive to make us dependent on them?
Yes.
Okay.
So that is what they are doing. And IMF will never solve our issues. Let's go, have a good election, have a good president for our nation, Raila Odinga, restructure our country the way Raila did with Kibaki, okay? And then we'll start going back where we used to be. And we'll have our own money, drive our own economy. IMF will not help us. Itatuweka kwa shida yenye ilituweka mbeleni wakati wa Moi.
Abraham, sum it up for us on that very matter. I mean, a little too late when President Uhuru Kenyatta does what it is that he's done to the people?
Reader, it's never too late. One day can save a man. And we cannot...
and we've seen many saved. Yes.
It's not posted too many years ago. It just came to my mind. Wow.
You know, Linda, so many people are starving. So many people are sleeping without food. And when the president has done that, that's a very good thing. And we appreciate. And we don't count the day that it was done. We appreciate this level. And remember when these presidential candidates have been doing campaign, the Kenya Kwanza, for example, they have been saying when they get to the office, they are going to lower the unga and all that. And don't forget that the deputy president has still the power to influence something. So waiting to be elected to solve cases, some people who have already died. So when the president have done it this time, he has saved so many Kenyans who would have died out of food. In the areas that are more surviving, there are some people who sleep out of food.
Yeah.
And these things I welcome it very well. I'm happy to see that the president have acted that. And I also pray that our areas will also get this uga at a cheaper price so that people cannot starve anymore. And then we are able now to go to the elections when our stomach are also full. Because when the uga is too expensive, some people would have even not gone to vote because they don't have energy to queue.
Yeah.
So these are good issue that the president has solved, and we are saying we really appreciate it so much.
Yeah.
And for me, I wish all of them the best, and I also request the people of Ngando also to vote for me. I'm requesting for their vote so that I continue to represent them in the county assembly and to ensure that our area also develop.
Yeah.
And I'm going to continue to represent them to ensure that they feel that they are well represented and oversee all the county facts, how they are done at their area.
Okay.
So I'm happy for that.
All the best. We have to close. We are extremely out of time, Eric. It's 8 to 4.
And fuel subsidy. When fuel subsidy, fuel will go to 190.
The cost of
what
living
will the
be
cost
high.
of living, even your unga?
Automatically
IMF
shoot
watch
up.
jokes.
Okay, all right. And how time flies, gentlemen.
Yes.
I know you want to say 30 seconds. If you can speak to the people of Kangema.
Yes.
I'm closing, Mr. Director. 30 seconds.
I'm telling the people of Kangema that we are now very close to the battle. They should prepare to vote Githiga Mwangi in as their MP. Some of the economic problems that we are talking about will not definitely end, but they will be reduced substantially with my help, especially in the areas of agriculture. Food is the key story here. We shall try to do our best to at least have some home grown solutions.
Right.
And once we vote in Githiga Mwangi, the solutions will start from day one.
All right, well, all the best,
September.
Dr. Githiga Mwangi, Member of Parliament candidate Kangema. I had Eric asking what ticket.
Ticket is Usawa kwa Wote Party.
There you go. All right, and yes, Abraham Maina, MCA aspirant Ngando.